Order. Good morning, members and members of the public watching at home. Welcome to this Planning, Taxi, Licensing and Rights of Way Committee meeting. First item on the agenda is apologies. Over to Steve for apologies, please. Steve, and a roll call. Thank you.
Chair, I've not received any apologies. We'll move to the roll call. Councillor Carl Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Gareth D. Jones.
Present.
Councillor Tom Colbert.
Present.
Councillor Angela Davis. Councillor Deb Edwards. Councillor Edwards. I don't see her on. Okay. Councillor Hywyn Hume.
Yes, present.
Sorry, Miss Councillor Les George.
Present.
Councillor Peter James.
Apologies, please.
Councillor Adrian Jones.
Present.
Councillor Gareth E. Jones.
Present.
Councillor Karina Kenyon Wade.
Present.
Councillor Ian McIntosh.
Present.
Councillor Jeff Morgan.
Present.
Councillor Gareth Pugh.
Present.
Councillor Edwin Roderick. Councillor Gwynfor Thomas.
Present.
Councillor Elwyn Vaughan.
Emma.
Councillor Jonathan Dickinson.
Present.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
Thank you very much, Steve. On to our next item on the agenda, which is minutes of the previous meeting. They're from the 28th of April 22 and the 16th of June 2022, pages 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Do I have someone to propose and second those, please?
I propose they are correct, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Les. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Hugh. If there are no other observations, I'll take your hands down and as a signal that everyone is satisfied with those minutes. If there's no other observations. Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, declaration of interest. A, to receive any declarations of interest from members relating to items to be considered on the agenda. No. B, to receive members' requests that a record be made of the membership of town or community councils where discussion is taking place of matters for the consideration of this committee. Councillor Elwyn Vaughan, please.
Sorry, I was a bit slow on the uptake there. I was going to declare an interest actually in application 22/0510.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's been suggested to me that I should declare my interest in the first planning application 20/2130/FUL that I don't believe is a prejudicial interest, but I want clarification on this as I am chair of the NFU Cymru Milk Board and have taken an active interest in matters to do with slurry storage.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hugh, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, it's a late hand. Should I come in now? I've got apologies that I have to leave at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, Chair.
That's fine, Councillor Hugh. That's fine, no problem. Okay, C, to receive declaration from members of the committee that they'll be acting as a local representative in respect to an individual application being considered by the committee. No. D, to note details of members of the county council who are not members of the committee but will be acting as a local representative in respect to an individual application being considered by the committee. We have anyone in today? Okay, on to the planning applications proper. 4.1 updates. Has everyone managed to receive those updates and read them? If anyone hasn't, please raise their hand. Okay, brilliant. We can move on to the first application. Which is application 20/2130/FUL installation of earth bank slurry lagoon and associated works at Newbridge Farm, Myville. Taking us through this application is Kate Bowen. Over to you, Kate.
Good morning, members. Yes, so as the chair has just outlined, this is an application for an installation of an earth bank slurry lagoon and associated works. The associated works include alterations to the existing access.
We need to work out how to share the presentation. Thank you.
Uh, Yep. Okay, apologies for that. So the first slide is an aerial view of the location of the development. The application site is marked by the large yellow arrow. This slide just shows the application site boundary. This slide is a layout plan of the lagoon. The lagoon measures approximately 23 meters by 27 meters and 4.6 meters deep. It would be partly excavated into the ground, but would require concrete walls above the ground, which would be earth funded. And this slide shows the cross sections, obviously to give you an indication of profile. And I shall leave that there just for the public speakers now.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Over to first of our public speakers is Mr. Mark Jones, who's an objector, and Miss Christine Gray, who's another objector. Miss Christine Gray is in County Hall today, and Mr. Mark Jones will be joining us online. And I believe you're both sharing the time of 5 minutes. Is that correct?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairman and committee members. I understand the need to address the slurry issues that arise with the farming activity at Newbridge. My concern is the proposed solution fails to give sufficient regard to the impact on the community, and not enough has been done to demonstrate there is no other alternative. More specifically, what is proposed will be a detriment to the tourist sector and will be of no help to us as we seek periodically to host the National Steddfod, which brings 115,000 visitors to Maldwyn and the Myford Valley. The Steddfod site is only 400 meters away from the proposed lagoon. The Steddfod site also is supplied by water mains linked to the pump house opposite Old Mathravel, in close proximity to the proposed lagoon. What reassurance is being provided there is no risk of contamination to this active water supply, or leakage from this pipe could cause problems at the lagoon? National Grid recognized the importance of the character and beauty of the Myford Valley. As a result, they intended to pursue any development with a Mid Wales connection through this area underground. Yet if the lagoon proposal is passed, PCC would be disregarding the outcome of the parish council and the approach that would have been taken by national entities such as National Grid. After all the hard work and extensive public participation in the grid connection project, this seems to me like an unnecessary own goal and a decision we will come to regret. There is clear need for a solution. Given the extent of the land found by Newbridge, I am not yet persuaded that what is proposed is the only viable option. There must be options that are less damaging to the interests of others in this community. If this was reviewed in an open, consultative and collaborative manner, it would do much to improve acceptance of the outcome, whatever that may be. I know this has not happened as it should. I have not been approached once, yet I have land bordering that of Newbridge. National Grid offered a solution when they were confronted with a challenge. Why can't Powys County Council, Newbridge, and the community come together and do the same? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mark Jones. Over to you, Ms. Christine Gray.
Christine Gray, Free Farm, adjacent to Newbridge Farm. The proposed lagoon would be in a very prominent position, a complete eyesore, out of keeping with the superb valley we live in. It is understood that Newbridge Farm needs to comply with the new NRW regulations. The farm controls in excess of 350 acres, of which several other sites above the floodplain have already been identified. The site field is actually a maize crop, not grassland. It is highly unlikely that wildflower planting would be maintained, as the farm is very unkempt. At present, the farm has slurry storage capacity for 190 cows, plus planning permission for underground storage. However, the lagoon is to hold the entire amount of the whole herd. It is believed that the intention is to increase the herd to 250 using the NRW regs to facilitate this. The NRW have already flagged this up. There is a Worcester Walkers as public footpath a couple of metres from the lagoon. The Health and Safety Executive Report states that there is a risk to humans in the near vicinity as hydrogen sulfide given off by slurry can cause collapse and death. There are several recorded cases of asphyxiation. The lagoon could not be monitored safely in case of accident, as over 2 miles from the farmstead. As regard the placemaking and well-being goals, in inverted commas, to improve our lives and enhance our well-being, the planning officer's statement that the impact on communities and local residents is acceptable. This is totally inaccurate, as proved by the letters of objection from the neighbouring homes that will be impacted, so much that a household nearest the development will be forced to move due to health concerns. Our tourism business would be severely affected directly overlooking the site. In addition, the upcoming Ice Stedford is children's field approximately 320 metres away. As we all feel that the planning officer's report is unfairly biased in favour of the applicant, it is our intention, if planning permission is granted, to instruct our solicitors to apply for a judicial review. With respect, would any of you like to live near what is actually an open sewer? Thank you for your time, which is greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much, Ms. Christine Gray. On now to the agent, Mr. Gary Owen, and the applicant, Mr. Llew Williams. I believe, gentlemen, that you might be sharing the time, or one or both of you will be speaking. Mr. Gary Owen. Do we have Mr. Gary Owen in the? Is he online? Mr. Gary Owen, can you signal that you're there, please?
He's muted at the moment. Yeah.
Could you unmute, please, Mr. Gary Owen?
My apologies, I'm here now.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Gary Owen. I believe that yourself and Llew Williams, the applicant, may or may not be sharing the time, or you may be having the full allotted 5 minutes, I'm not sure. But you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. I'm just waiting. Mr. Llew Williams is just trying to join the meeting.
Okay.
Does that impinge on the 5 minutes?
No, we haven't started yet. So until you start to begin to speak on the application, we won't start the clock.
Thank you. He was just trying, we were just speaking before I joined this call.
He's in the meeting. He just needs to unmute and put his camera on.
There's no mic symbol next to his name, Steve. I don't know if that. Oh, now there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Llew Williams, can you indicate that you're in the meeting, please?
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Llew Williams. Okay, we've got you both in the meeting. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Gary Owen, you may start when you're ready.
Thank you. The application being that has been submitted to the authority is relatively straightforward. It's for a lagoon, a slurry lagoon, associated with a farm business conducted out of Newbridge Farm. There are plenty of farms that are going to need lagoons. We've got the new legislation that's been imposed, whereby farmers have got to provide 5 months storage for slurry generated on a farm by August 24. Most farms that I go on to are going to have to apply to their respective authorities to do this. Of course, yesterday, Welsh Government issued their next stage of the Sustainable Farming Scheme, the support mechanism that will be going towards farmers in replacement of the subsidy scheme, and that reinforces the need for slurry storage on farm. Newbridge Farm is situated in a floodplain. This makes location somewhat difficult. The soils around Newbridge Farmstead, of course, being in a floodplain, are right porous. The farmstead is on a small spit of land, isolated by road from the adjoining block of land, well, the majority of the adjoining block of land in the Valley Plain. The location which we've applied for a slurry lagoon is on Banky land, which is slightly distance from the farmstead. If you look at the plan that is supplied, I can just about see where Newbridge Farm is, and you can see the location of the field is not too difficult, not too distant rather, sorry. It's as good a site as we can find on the farm as a whole. We've looked at the farm. The farm has difficulties in that there are not only water courses, there's an SSSI, there are slopes and banks within a floodplain, there are public footpaths, there's ecologically valuable land. You can see the trees south of the site. You know, where we are looking to develop is on improved grassland. I understand somebody's mentioned, yes, it is in maize now. Maize is an agricultural crop, it'll go back to grass. Soils are suitable, we've tested those. We've had NRW consent, we've sized the lagoon. We originally have thought to get it for a larger size, for 250 cows. Conscious of the neighbours around, we thought we can get away with this, to hide it in the fold of the ground. We've tried desperately to hide this as much as possible. It is in full sight to the north, there's no question about that, but it will be an earth bank lagoon. So that which people see from the valley floor will be a green earth bank on completion of the works after restoration. We now are at 180 cows. That is the existing herd size. That's the important element. We are not doing anything bigger. Despite the sense of building for the future, we're staying at where we are at current stock numbers. We've looked at the ammonia issues, but the NRW are content. I mean, you've seen the correspondence with NRW. We've tried desperately to satisfy anybody. Property nearest to the southwest will see some of the lagoon. There's no question about that. We're not arguing it. To the south, there's a road people will drive by. We're going to have a hedge, reinstate a hedge. After satisfying highway requirements, we'll get a nice hedge, so people should not be stopping on that road. It's not a particularly fast road, but people will just drive by. It's not visible to the east. It is visible to the north. We're trying desperately to be as nice as we can to everybody. We're just forced by legislation to install this lagoon. I know there are complaints. I hear lots of information being generated, not all of it accurate, but that's where we are. We're seeking to maintain a business that's been taken on by young farmers, future of the generation of the farming industry and in our locality. And that's as much as I really would like to say to the council.
Mr. Claire Williams, would you like to add anything before your allotted time is finished?
No, I'm happy with sort of what Gary said there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That concludes our speakers for this application. I'll hand back now to Kate to take us to her recommendation. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you, Chair. So just going back to the slide which shows the sort of aerial view of the site. Obviously, again, the site is indicated by the large yellow arrow. Just to point out some features which are referred to and discussed in the report. The two Schedule Nature monuments, Mathravel Castle and Bryn y Saethau Hill Fort. And obviously Myford is to the northeast there. The site would be located on the northwest side of the B4389 highway, approximately 3.5 kilometres southwest of Myford. The site is part of a larger field which is in improved grassland use, although as we've heard by the speakers, it's currently cropped with maize. It's approximately 1.3 kilometres from the main farmstead of Newbridge Farm. The public right-of-way that's been referred to travels along the southwest boundary of the site. It is proposed to fence off the right-of-way with a 2-metre wide corridor so that the use would be maintained. And obviously, again, there you can just see the B4389 highway adjacent to the site. As stated by the speakers, it's understood that the lagoon is needed to comply with the water resources regulations and has been reduced in size from the initial submission to provide slurry storage for the current stock numbers. So again, this just shows the cross sections, just to remind you of the profile. This slide shows the proposed visibility display to the west. Obviously, there are, as you'll see from the report, there are access improvements required, which would involve removal of hedgerow on both sides. This is the western side towards Llangunyu. It is proposed to replant the roadside hedgerow behind the fenced visibility display. This is the visibility display to the east towards Myford. The slurry would be transported via tanker via this highway, the B4389 and the A495 highway from the main farmstead, Newbridge Farm. Obviously, it's proposed to alter the existing access to meet the required standards, and the Highway Authority is not objected, subject to conditions. Moving on to the photographs of the site. This is the site from the access looking southwest towards the A495 and Mathravel Woods, and the Bryn y Saethau Hill Fort is just to the east there, but I will show you that a bit later. Obviously, this just gives you a general feel for the area. It's located on sloping land, rising from the Vyrnwy Valley. This slide shows you, this slide slopes, the land slopes down to the A495 at the bottom there, with the Bryn y Saethau Hill Fort and Mathravel Woods there. It's a relatively tranquil landscape. Agriculture obviously is evident in the area, as is scattered dwellings. There's a caravan park down the road in Llangunyu, but generally obviously a kind of agricultural feel, as well as scattered houses and settlements. Therefore, because it is agricultural in nature, the development, it's considered it's not out of character in that respect. Cadw, in terms of the Bryn y Saethau Hill Fort, that is the only Scheduled Ancient Monument which they have advised that there may be a slight visual change in views from. However, they have advised there would be no impact on the setting from that hill fort. This is a Google Earth image from the A495. Just looking back up towards the site. Obviously, I've arrowed the development's location at the top of the field there. Obviously, it's rising land from the valley floor. It's isolated. It is an isolated form of development. It wouldn't be grouped with any other development, as you can see. But given the earth in slope mounds on the northwest, because the land slopes down, so obviously the funds would be higher on the northwest side, but overall it would have a low profile. The earth banks would be planted with wildflowers, and also it is proposed to plant a hedgerow along the northwest boundary, so to kind of dissect the width of this field. And obviously, when established, that would assist in screening the development. This is the approach on the highway from the southwest. The netted hedge shows the location of the visibility display and the access. Obviously, you can see the land continues rising on the other side of the highway away from the development as well. The site is visible from the highway and the public right-of-way, obviously in very close proximity, but other receptors are more distant. Obviously, it's not considered to interrupt open views of the valley or open skies in terms of the overall landscape impact. This is from near the site access, looking northeast towards Myford and Mathravel Castle. Mathravel Castle will be just over the hedge past that white dwelling. So given the intervening features such as hedgerows and topography, Cadw have advised that there would be no views between that scheduled ancient monument and the site, and there would be no impact on that setting either. In terms of safety, which is one matter that's been raised, because obviously being detached from the farm, that has raised some public concerns. It's put forward that there would be a fence on top of the lagoon, and there would be the fence alongside the public right of way, which would obviously hinder public access. And this is an approach that's recommended by the Health and Safety Executive in unsupervised locations. This is the access looking southwest, back up from the Myford direction. Obviously, you can see the access point quite clearly there that will be improved. In terms of ecology, there's been lengthy communications with Natural Resources Wales, particularly surrounding aerial emissions and the impact on protected sites. However, that's been resolved through a reduction in the size of the lagoon, such that assessment of ammonia emissions is not required. The land itself is considered to be of low ecological value by the council's ecologist, and the compensatory enhancement through hedgerow planting and wildfire planting is considered appropriate in this instance, and both NRW and the ecologist have not objected. This map just shows, as referred to in the update report, this is the map from Hafren Dyfrdwy, which the agent has provided to show where the water pipes are. The faint blue line is the main water line, but obviously that travels along the road or the verge. The grey kind of crossed line is an abandoned water main pipe. So there is no current live water pipe in the site. Obviously, another key issue of the application is impact on noise and odour, in particularly because the site would be within 250 metres of properties, as mentioned in the public speaking. Environmental Protection have not objected or requested further information, and therefore the impact is considered acceptable on that basis. So in conclusion, the lagoon is required to meet the farming needs of Newbridge Farm, and as required by current and upcoming regulations. It will be an isolated form of development, but the visual and landscape impact is considered to be mitigated by the design and landscaping measures. Otherwise, all material considerations are acceptable or will be addressed through conditions, e.g. amenity, ecology, rights of way, heritage, highways, etc. So therefore, the recommendation is one of conditional consent as set out in the original and the update report. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Kate. Over to members now for discussion, please. First to indicate is Councillor Angela Davis, please.
Thank you, Chair. This one. Thank you very much. So obviously it's a very detailed planning application. There's a lot of paperwork involved. And I was trying to tick off all the concerns raised against the conditions put if you're minded to approve this. And the one thing I couldn't sort of tally up was the issue of the ammonia concentrations. And you just said something about that, saying it was not required. Can you just expand on that? Because I couldn't find that in the paperwork.
Yeah, so initially NRW wanted, they call it a scale report. So it's a report looking at the ammonia emissions. However, because they're saying that they will stay at current stock levels and not increasing that, and so they've reduced the size of the lagoon to demonstrate that. NRW have advised that they do not require that scale modelling now and therefore have no objection.
So is that because the current slurry on the farm is that size, but even though you're moving location, it's the same amount of ammonia in the atmosphere?
I understand so. However, the relocation they have considered that because it might be, well, I think it's taken it closer to other SSSIs, etc., which might be impacted, sites of special scientific interest, which they have to consider the impact of aerial emissions on. It would be potentially taking it closer to other sites, which is why I think there has been a lot of communication. But overall, NRW have come back now and agreed that they are accepting the information that's being put before them now.
So they don't require any conditions?
They
on
don't
that?
require any conditions. That's
Thank you
right.
very much.
Okay, thank you. Next to speak is Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start speaking, could I just have confirmation from Colin Edwards, the legal advice really I asked for in the beginning, really. I just want to check that I am allowed to speak as I am already chairman of the NFU Cymru Dairy Board and has an interest in this matter.
Yeah, Colin, please.
Have they commented on the application or had any?
No, they haven't made a direct comment on this particular application at all, Colin. No.
Well, in that case, I can't see how you would be conflicted to the extent that you couldn't take part.
Great, that's all I wanted confirmation of. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, I'll proceed. I know the site well. I'm also a dairy farmer in the Myford Valley, and so know the practical difficulties of handling slurry very, very well, particularly in a floodplain. Like myself and like all dairy farmers, the Williams family are now going to come under the new water regulation, NVZ regulations imposed by Welsh Government, which will require, as Agent Gary Owen said, 5 months storage. And that's quite a big ask. And the larger the herd, obviously, the more slurry you have to handle. I know that the siting of an alternative lagoon or slurry store for the Williams is difficult because of the nature of the land and the flooding issues. You know, I'm prepared to accept that they've looked at every other alternative before going ahead with this application on this site. I do have one or two reservations, which I'll come to a little bit later. I just wanted to address some of the concerns of the first objector, Mr. Jones, who tried to draw a direct comparison between this application and the planned national grid line through the Myford Valley about 11 to 12 years ago. I was very involved in campaigning against that, and I think personally, I think it's misleading to try and draw a direct comparison between a agricultural slurry store, earth banked, and the considerable infrastructure that would have been the national grid line with a 400 kVA pipeline line to the Myford Valley. I think I can't really see a direct comparison between the two. The concerns I have partly been addressed. One was relating to a Severn Trent water line, and I do question actually the evidence that's been submitted. I'm still not convinced that that line runs as it is shown by Hafren Dyfrdwy on the road side of that hedge. And I've seen the site, I've looked at the site, and as I understand it, the line ran on the field side of that hedge. And I would just like confirmation that isn't the case. In fact, if you look at that hedge, you can see a Severn Trent concrete marker post where the line would appear to go through the hedge, and what would appear to be a repaired fence where the line has gone underneath. So I just want confirmation that is actually a redundant line. I know that water travels up the hill and is extracted further on up, but I just like confirmation on that. And also the power lines that, the high voltage lines that are in that field that would appear to be at the moment above that site. You know, I'd find it unacceptable that there were power lines over a slurry store of that type, certainly if it involves stirring at some point because of the danger to the operators. And I would like confirmation from utilities that line would be moved before construction took place. So those are my two main concerns. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jonathan. Kate, would you like to address that if you could? Pete?
You're struggling with something, yeah, sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, in respect to water supply, that is the information I've been provided. Hafren Dyfrdwy haven't objected to the development. Obviously, we've consulted them during the application process. They haven't raised an issue with the water main. Obviously, I can't sort of go any further than that, other than the evidence and the no objection from Hafren Dyfrdwy. In terms of electric line going over the site, yeah, obviously I've just got the photograph up now, which shows it very well. In terms of if it wasn't able to be developed on the ground, I'm guessing, Pete, it just wouldn't be able to be developed. If there was a problem with the electric line in terms of operational development, it's not, if the electric company had an objection to it, it would just be stopped at the time of development.
Well, they would have to apply to move. I'm not on the mic. Yeah, let's do them one by one. You've put up a plan. Sorry, I haven't seen that plan before. So who's provided that plan? Is it the agent? So we can see. So I'm taking my specs off. So along the road is the water main. And then Councillor John Wilkinson has queried whether there's one of those white concrete markers, presumably. Is that on that where there's a dog leg? Do you know? Just on that plan?
That would be.
I think we're acting on the best information. What in front of us is that's all we've got. Looking at Kate, there's nothing. I've checked the Hafren Dyfrdwy response. They haven't raised water mains. They've looked at sewerage, but not water supply. So the evidence that we've got is that there isn't a water main, or the water main runs along the road. And if I've understood it correctly, if you went back on again, Kate. The other dotted line there, can you explain what that is again, please?
That's an abandoned pipe.
So it's an abandoned pipe. Okay. So I think that's as much evidence as we've got. Normally what we would do, if there's an objection, we'd obviously be raising that, but normally we then put a notification as a reminder. So that's what we have in other forms of development. The water company says, put this on the bottom of any decision, and so the applicant then goes back and checks with the water company, does that infrastructure search on the ground. Okay.
Okay. Councillor Jonathan, would you like to come back, or are you satisfied with that answer for the time being?
On the matter of the water line, I'm prepared to accept the evidence that Severn Trent, or Hafren Dyfrdwy as they're called now, have given. Although certainly the evidence I've seen on the ground leads me to be a bit confused about that, but I'm prepared to accept that. But on the electric line, I would like to have seen something in writing from the utilities to show that line will be moved, and I haven't seen any evidence of that. I've seen something from the agent, but not from the utilities themselves. So I still have some reservations about that. But everything I previously said about the application, the merits of it stand.
Thank you. Peter, did you want to go in just to?
I was just checking. It's not Western Power up there. I think it's Scottish Power up that part of the county. I don't think they've consulted, so we don't know. But again, it's the same principle. If there's a power line there and it's in the way of the development, then the developer's going to have to contact the power company and check whether it needs to be relocated or whether that's feasible. That's going to impact on the viability of what they're planning.
Okay. So, are you happy to leave it there, Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Edwin Roderick, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And just I'd like confirmation, really. Is the lagoon lined at all with a liner, a suitable liner? And also, the only other point that I would like to raise is where the access coming out to the road, would that be concrete or stone to stop any soil contamination coming onto the road? Because I could see it's on a bit of a brow, and as we all know, traffic tends to go a little bit fast these days. Those are the only two questions I've got. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, so in terms of the construction of the lagoon, obviously it's going to be built, well, would be built if approved to the required standards. So that is to Natural Resources Wales standards. I'm not familiar with their standards as to whether, you know, a liner would be required. You know, the detail is not on this plan. This is for planning purposes, but I understand that it would be constructed, obviously, as required by the legislation, to be constructed to Natural Resources Wales standards, if that helps to answer it. But I wouldn't know exactly if I wouldn't like to definitely say that there would be a liner at this stage.
Did the NRW come out and inspect it?
I don't know what their procedures are, sorry, Chair.
Okay. And the other one was about the road.
The road, yeah. So in the conditions, the Highway Authority have asked that the access is surfaced with a suitably bound material so that there would not be, you know, loose debris, etc., coming onto the road. So that is for a, can't remember what they expect the specific distance is from the road, but it's the required standards of the highway that it should be bound for that distance, and obviously to prevent loose material entering the road and causing a slip out, or, you know, a hazard when you're driving.
I would like to, Chair, I personally speaking from experience, I would like on this size of lagoon assurance of a liner.
Right.
On that sort of size, because it does soak into ground
Leach
water sources. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I can only imagine there would be. Just bear with us. I'm just trying to find a bit of information.
I've just asked Kate to check one thing. There is a condition proposed around pollution prevention plan referring back to information from the agent, I think on the 4th of June, 21. Yeah, okay.
You want to adjourn and check with
If we can adjourn, Steve, just pause the meeting for 2-3 minutes. Okay, welcome back, members. Sorry for that delay. We have saw some additional information, and I believe Pete will come in on that now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're probably in an area here where we've got regulations out there that control how slurry lagoons should be built and constructed. It's no different in my mind to something like building regs when you come to how a building should be built and built properly. What the planning system doesn't do is stray into those other regulations. So I think we've got to be careful here that we're potentially straying into other regulations that control how something should be built properly. We do have a condition at the end which refers to pollution prevention plan being submitted. So we're looking to make sure from a planning perspective there's no risk there from pollution. But to my mind, and I don't know the agricultural pollution regulations inside out, I'm fully aware of them. And I think this is we're going to see other applications coming forward, I suspect, as a result of them, because they're pushing farmers to find solutions for manure management, nitrate management. So I suspect we're going to see other types of applications come forward. But the regulations for controlling how their construction is not a planning matter to my mind. It sits outside of that with the regulations, but the planning condition that we've proposed will look to make sure that there is no pollution. So we're doing what we can from the planning side. Okay, Kate, did you find anything more actually mentioning liner?
No.
And I know, I'm not sure if it's fair on Councillor Gareth Jones over there, you spotted something in the NRW response. Are you able to just share what you found? Like,
yeah,
NRW have been involved in so many responses on this one.
Yeah, on page 34 of the documentation, it says that they need a permeable on about permeable layers, but it goes on to say that site operators should ensure there is no possibility of contaminated water entering and polluting surface or groundwater. So I think that's covered there.
Apologies, that's helpful though. So we've got a reference there, NRW have addressed it. And as I say, I think it's going to come down to compliance with other regulations. That's not inside planning. Okay.
Okay, councillor Hugh Williams, please.
Chair, there is an informative from the NRW at the end of the document as well, which specifically mentions the lagoon line in.
Okay. Did you want to come in on something else, councillor Hugh? Because you had your hand up for a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, could I ask the highways officers who are present, looking at the photograph, the access is on the brow of a hill. Can you, can the officer assure me that the visibility display is sufficient to access the road safely? And is the hedgerow in the gift of the land of the applicant to provide those displays? And the second point, Chair, rights of way. Now, is there a diversion suggested? And if there is, it's subject to a separate application, I assume?
Right, we'll take the highways issue first. Who wants to take that? Adine or Simon? Simon Crew, please.
Yep, the access visibility displays are achievable. When we assessed the application in the beginning, we put a perceived visibility display on in terms of speeds. The applicant then undertook a speed survey to give us exact 85th percentile speeds, and they've all been plotted and checked on site that they are achievable. The hedgerows, as far as I'm aware, and Kate maybe to expand on this, the hedgerows are completely within the applicant's control and are going to be set back. To answer your question enough?
Yes, but doesn't. Chair, does the fact that there is a brow on a hill, the speeds, you have obviously taken that into consideration, because that photo there suggests to me that visibility may be restricted. But if you assure me that it's different, I will accept your professionalism on that.
Yeah, I think that photograph's a little bit deceptive because you'll get the shadows of the hedge and the position from where it's been taken. So the access is a little bit further on than where Kate stood taking the photograph. So the role of that hill is less of a concern when you're physically stood up at the access. So you're coming 2.4 back in from the edge carriageway, a height of 1.05 to 600 millimetres on either side of the access, and the visibility displays have been calculated and checked on site to make sure that they are achievable, and in our opinion they are achievable.
Okay. Okay, rights of way.
Yeah, in terms of the right of way, no, it's not proposed to divert it. I have spoken to the right of way officer. They are content that the right of way would remain in its current line, and it would be fenced off with a 2 metre wide corridor, which they are happy with, obviously, to prevent people straying. But yeah, they are happy with that solution. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Helen Hume, you were.
It's been answered.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Councillor Vice Chair, Councillor Gareth Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think with the recent water regulations from Welsh Government, this is going to be an application similar we're going to have on numerous occasions moving forward. And it's inevitable that to meet these regulations, farmers have to build lagoons, storage like this to be able to carry on and meet these stipulations. If I may, can I go back to one of the speakers earlier on when he implied that there would be an adverse impact on the National Eisteddfod, as it was 400 metres away and would be unacceptable. I think this is slightly misleading in so much as the current farmstead is only about 20 metres from where the National Eisteddfod has been hosted. And I'm sure everyone would agree the National Eisteddfod over the previous 2 occasions has been hugely successful and hasn't been impacted by any form of slurry storage. Moving on to planning items, I think this application has been very well put together. We've had an excellent report from the planning officer. We've heard that there's going to be a fence on the lagoon for safety. We've heard about the footpath being fenced 2 metres apart. NRW are content Everybody on this planning committee appreciates the in-depth detail that any applicant has to go through to get consent from NRW, and they are happy. We've heard about the liner. It has to be built to specific standards, and I don't think a lot more could have been done by the applicants to meet all requirements from a planning perspective. So on that matter, when you're ready, Chair, I'd be happy to move that we go with officer recommendation and give conditional consent to the lagoon here for Newbridge Farm. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Vice Chair Councillor Gareth Jones. Councillor Gareth E. Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. The first one is, I suppose, on our own information. Does the officer know how long the slurry will be held in the existing lagoon at the homestead before being moved to this site?
No, sorry, no.
Okay, that's fine. Second question is around the moving the hedge. Can you bring the slide up? We got the plan, please. And we got the moving the hedge back. Yeah, where does the proposed edge? Oh, I see the proposed edge line. And is the footpath affected by moving the hedge back at all?
So the footpath is on this side of the lagoon, so to speak.
Yeah.
So no, it wouldn't be. Sorry. Oh, sorry. On the western side. So it's on the left-hand side of the piece of paper or of the screen.
So the thick dark line there.
Yeah, it shows the hedgerow and the visibility displays.
2 meters doesn't seem to be 2 meters between that line and the gateway, or is the footpath going to go where you get?
So the footpath, sorry. So the footpath travels to the northwest along the side of the. Do you want me to stand up?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I thought it was against the fence line. Fine.
Yeah. So the footpath travels along the towards the northwest, away from the highway, down through the fields.
And just for my information, can you bring up the plan of the water pipe and just point out where the access site is? So where's the proposed access site on there?
So yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor Gareth? No. Okay. Councillor Gwynfor Thomas, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have to accept that this isn't an ideal scenario for the farm, but I'm mindful of the fact that the agent said that they'd looked at all other alternatives and listed a long list of reasons why they couldn't site the development in any other place. So on the basis of that fact, I think it's essential that we help the farm comply with its legislation to store its slurry. I don't feel that we have any other choice to support the officer's recommendation. So I'm happy to second the proposal that was given by Councillor Gareth.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gwynfor. Councillor Les George, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to second Councillor Gareth's proposal.
Okay, thank you. No other members wishing to speak? It has been proposed and duly seconded to go along with officer's recommendation, which is one of conditional consent as set out in the update report. Those members wishing to go along with that, please indicate to Steve, who will be coming around with a roll call momentarily. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Tom Colbert.
Yes, I'm in favour, I agree.
Councillor Angela Davis. Councillor Deb Edwards was absent. Councillor Les George.
4.
Councillor Highland Hume,
Oh,
Councillor Peter James, apologies. Councillor Adrian Jones,
4.
Councillor Gareth D. Jones,
4.
Councillor Gareth E. Jones,
4.
Councillor Karina Kenyon Wade,
I agree.
Councillor Carl Lewis,
4.
Councillor Ian McIntosh,
4.
Councillor Jeff Morgan, Councillor Gareth Pugh,
4.
Councillor Edwin Roderick,
4.
Councillor Gwynfor Thomas,
4.
Councillor Elwyn Vaughan,
4.
Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson,
4.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
4.
It's unanimous, Chair.
That's unanimous. Thank you, members. That meets with the officer's recommendation. Thank you. Is it members' wish we stop for a 5-minute comfort break before we move on to the next application? Okay, we'll pause the meeting for. Okay, welcome back, members. On to our next application, which is 22/0564/FUL. Continuation of siting of hot takeaway food trailer following a conditional approval of 18/0778/FUL Spa Store in Llanwrtyd Wells. Taking us through this application is Francis Holmes, and welcome to the Planning Committee here in County Hall for the first time. Over
Thank
to
you,
you.
Chair. Okay, sorry. Yes. Okay, so this application is for 220564 FUL. It's the continuation of a siting of a hot takeaway food trailer following conditional approval of 180778 FUL. It is located alongside Spa Stores, 1 Irvine Terrace, Llanwrtyd Wells, LD5 4RB. This shows a map of the settlement boundaries of Llanwrtyd Wells. The site is shown with this black arrow. The site is within the Community Council area of Llanwrtyd Wells, and it's within its settlement development boundary and within its town centre as identified by the red striped lines. To the north of the site is the A483 trunk road. To the east and south are neighbouring residence dwellings here and here. And to the west is the Spar/Premier supermarket. There are 2 grade 2 listed buildings within 50 metres of the site. This would be, here, the Nuav Arms Hotel, and down here, the Llanwrtyd War Memorial Institute. The application seeks consent for the continuation of the siting of this hot food takeaway trailer. It measures approximately 6.8 metres in length, including stopping blocks and the trailer puller, 2.1 metres in width, and 3 metres in height to its highest point. This application would be for a retrospective permission since the trailer is already present at the site. I will now hand over to speakers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Francis. First, and our only speaker is Councillor Tim Van Rees. Welcome back to the chamber, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Tim Van Rees, you have 5 minutes and you may begin when you're ready and comfortable.
Yeah. As many here will know, I served as County Councillor for Llanwrtyd Wells and District for 41 years. And I've been a member of Llanwrtyd Town Council for over 43 years. The site is well known to me. I will confess a personal interest in what is referred to in the Chinese language as cooked food stalls.
because during the riots in Hong Kong in the late 60s, my soldiers and I fed from cooked food stalls while we repressed rioters, and very welcome they were. I take nothing away from what Mr. Singh has done in connection with the Premier stores in Llanrwstyd after a devastating accident when a car ran into it a few years ago. It has been restored. It is one of our major shopping precincts in the town, and they do a rattling good job there. But I, as county councillor, received a considerable number of complaints with regard to the presence of this cooked food outlet. And I, therefore, the request of the town council would also receive numerous objections to the presence of this cooked food van there. I decided as well, my last acts as county councillor, to call in this application. Now, I have not had the benefit, even though we did ask for it, of knowing the planning officer's recommendations here. But the town council are strongly opposed to the continued presence of this cooked food stall for various planning reasons. I do not know whether the Trunk Road Agency have been consulted. I would hope that they have, and I'd be very interested to know their reaction. Because in order to be consistent, I would have thought they would have come forward with a recommendation for refusal of this application. They have refused a number of others in my area, which, and I think in order to be consistent, I would have thought a recommendation for refusal here. I do not know too whether or not there has been an ecological report on the continued presence of this van, but it is within my knowledge that another grade 2 listed building of very considerable importance, that is to say Bethesda Chapel, is only a few yards further away, and that too has been the subject of an ecological report, and there is concern there about bats in the area. Anyway, be that as it may, the town council feels strongly that the cooked food stall is not in keeping with the surrounding area. It is immediately in the town centre, and obviously an area where in front of the Naiad Arms Hotel, the open area there, and it scarcely assists the image of the town to have a fast food van there. There was, of course, during the pandemic and during the closure of the Spar stores, or Premier stores, there was no strong objection to it then because the Spar stores were closed and it was proved an outlet, but that's no longer the case. We're not satisfied as to the question of waste disposal, siting of bins, etc. And obviously there is absolutely nowhere in the immediate area where people can park. And they stop on the 483, which causes traffic pileups. The difficulties, we're approaching the time of the Royal Welsh Show. And those of you who are familiar with Llanrwstyd will know that there is a continual presence, procession of cars going through Llanrwstyd first thing in the morning and then coming back at night. So no parking, as I say. And it causes traffic to cross over onto the opposite side of the road, and there's a likelihood of an accident. That it is difficult, again, on the other side of the Spar stores, to gain access to the railway station because there is double parking there. I particularly have received comments and objections about the odors emitting from the van, the smell of cooked food, and the local residents have to keep their windows closed. And obviously there is a question of, is there a need for a fast food outlet there? It's accepted that the Premier Stores have provided a takeaway service. This could continue from within the existing premises. But as far as takeout food is concerned, the pubs in Llanrydyd provide a takeaway service. And while it has lately been closed, the Cafe Sospen, which is also in the town centre, that also provides food. So in short, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Committee, the Town Council, after considering the matter very carefully, and while in no way wishing to stifle business outlets, have come to the very definite conclusion that this application must be objected to, and I join in that application. Having said that, on the basis of this application is refused, as we trust it will be, then the Town Council will work with Mr. Singh, the proprietor of the Spa Stores, Premier Stores, to find an alternative site. It will not be beyond the wit of man, I'm sure, to find an alternative site, and we will do whatever we can to assist him on this, because I say his business is most welcome in Llanrydyd and provides significant, not only local employment, but also a most useful and valued shopping facility. Unless I can assist you further, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tim Van Rees. I'll hand back now to Francis to take us to.
Got a statement to read out.
Oh,
by the
before,
agent, sure.
yeah, oh, sorry. Yes, there was a statement by the agent to read out. Do apologise.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a statement by Mr. Darren Mills, who I believe is the agent for the applicant, because he's unable to be with you today. It states, unfortunately, both myself and the applicant are unable to attend the scheduled committee meeting. Please accept apologies for our absence. And then he states the reasons for committee's determination. The local member called in the application due to concerns raised surrounding A, it obstructs a right of way to adjoining properties, B, is unsightly, and C, is unnecessary as there are abundant takeaway facilities elsewhere in the town. He goes on, in response to the above, we would like to clarify the following. A, the catering trailer has been on site since December 2012, and to date the applicant is unaware of any restriction to rights of way. As indicated to the planning case officer, there is a separate maisonette to the first floor of number 2 Irvon Terrace. Then in brackets, the shop covers the ground floor area of number 1 and number 2 Irvon Terrace, which has access from the main street. And this access and any amenity is not affected by the proposed continuation of the siting of the catering unit. B, the original colour of the unit was bright orange. It is now a pale grey colour. The photograph below shows what it was like prior to being painted, and now I'm afraid I can't tell on the photographs, and speakers aren't allowed to submit photographs whilst they're speaking, so I won't show you that members. There are limited facilities in Llanrydyd Well for takeaway food. Opposite the Premier Stores is Cafe Sospen, which I think Colonel Van Rees referred to, which is unfortunately closed due to ill health. See attached photograph. Previous comments apply. The Drovers Rest is more directly recognised as a venue for a quality in-restaurant meals and experience. During the recent pandemic, other establishment hotels followed suit by selling takeaway pizzas, but the facility at the Premier Stores was the forerunner with takeaway food, pizza and fish and chips. It should be noted that the Premier Stores was the subject of a road traffic collision in January 2020. The shop front and associated facilities were left in an unoccupiable and unsafe state of repair until the premises reopened on the 21st of March 2022, just over 26 months later. Whilst the Premier Stores was closed, there was very limited facilities in the town for general convenience shopping. Attached are a series of photographs from the applicant showing the unusable and unsafe shop facilities. We believe that the convenience store helps to bring footfall into the town of Llanwrtyd Wells and should be applauded for providing a service to the local people and those passing through. Then he goes on to representations. 1, no objection was raised from public comments. This can be summarized as out of character, sufficient takeaway facilities in the local area, previous temporary approval on site, 180778 full, was given on the principle that permanent catering facilities would be built on site. And then he responds, in response to the above comments, we would like to counteract with the following. 1, with regard to this proposal, the Built Heritage Officer notes that overall, while the trailer would not be a usual feature of the townscape or within the setting of the listed building, shielded as it is by the wooden fence, the view of the van is not obvious. While some level of concern has been raised, it is not considered that the retention of the trailer in this position would further harm the setting of the nearby listed buildings, and subject to a condition as recommended above to amend the signing on the unit, which would further aid in reducing the visual impact of the development, it is considered that the proposed development can be managed to an acceptable level. In light of the above, it is considered that the proposed development does fundamentally comply with relevant planning policy. 2, see note C above, which I've already read out. 3, can you please confirm whether last temporary approval states that permanent catering facilities are to be built on site? The shop unit has a limited size kitchen, which is utilized for the preparation of cooking and pizzas. Unfortunately, the current internal space is not workable and there is a restricted space for a kitchen, which could produce and cook fish and chips. The catering trailer is used solely as a cooking facility and the products are sold through Premier Stores. Please do not gather around the catering unit waiting for fast food, he puts in brackets. Taking on board the comments received and the officer's recommendation for conditional consent, we hope that the application can be duly approved, as it should be considered that the proposed development fundamentally complies with the relevant planning policy, and the recommendation is one of conditional consent. We are happy with the conditions as listed below. Then he lists the conditions as contained in the officer's report, which I won't read out because they're exactly the same. He then states that he trusts that the above and attached information is satisfactory and that you will be able to put forward our comments at committee on Thursday, 7th of July, 2022. With many thanks and kind regards, Darren.
Thank you, Colin, for reading that out. Hand back now to Frances to take us to her recommendation.
Thanks, Chair. Okay, so firstly, this application has been considered under the following 2 planning policies, both R1 and R4 of the LDP. I'll leave it there. Policy R1 states that within defined retail centres, proposals for new retail development, which will be of a scale and design appropriate for the settlement and in accordance with the retail hierarchy, will be supported. Llanwrtyd Wells, in which the proposal is situated, is defined under this policy as a local retail centre. It is considered that the proposal meets the criteria of policy R1 as it has a suitable scale and design for settlement and does not undermine the retail hierarchy. Under policy R4, the establishment of new neighbourhood and village shops or services will also be approved where they are located within a town, village centre or small village, large village or small village, and serve the needs of the local area and do not undermine the retail hierarchy or have unacceptable adverse impact on the vitality and viability of the retail centre or other nearby centres and accord with policy R1. It's considered that this development would also accord with policy R1 of the LDP, as it is located within the town of Llanerted Wells, serves the need of the local area for the provision of takeaway services, and does not undermine the retail hierarchy. Concerns have been raised over the need for development in the local area. It is noted, however, that the proposal does not result in the loss of any permanent shop within the town, but instead see the temporary vision of a unit. As the proposal does not therefore impact upon the existing supply of retail units in the town, it is not considered that this additional temporary unit would further impact upon the vitality and viability of the retail centre or of nearby centres. It is therefore considered to accord with both policy R1 and policy R4. Here you can see the development up close. This is an up close image of the block plan. I will now move forward. This slide shows you the design and scale of the unit. In terms of scale, our policy R30, DM13, the LDP has been considered. Under this, siting, appearance, integration, scale, height, massing, and design detailing are all key matters in determining applications. It is acknowledged that the takeaway trailer is partially visible when travelling up the A483 trunk road, which runs to the north of the application site. However, because it is, as you can see, rather pushed back alongside the Spar store, and is partially, I'll show you a picture here, and is partially hidden by the by this fence, it is considered that the visual impact of the trailer is very small and would not have any harm on the townscape. The neutral colour, which is grey, of the trailer, as well as its moderate scale, is also considered to contribute to its moderate visual impact, and it's not, as such, not considered to have any significant detrimental impact on the surrounding area. The trailer currently does have a brightly coloured sign, as we've seen here, advertising the sale of fish and chips. It's considered, in order to reduce the visual impact of this development, the colour scheme of signage should be neutral colours. This can be secured by a carefully worded condition, which has been agreed in principle by the agent. Overall, with this consideration, it's considered that the scale and design of this development is appropriate for the area and not considered to have a detrimental impact overall. Further consideration has been given to the impact of the proposed development with regards to neighbouring properties. Specifically, the development has been considered under DM13, which specifically states the amenities enjoyed by the occupants or users of nearby or proposed properties should not be unacceptably affected by levels of noise, dust, air pollution, litter, odour, hours of operation, overlooking, or any other planning matter. It is considered that given the scale of the trailer, it will not have any significant detrimental impact on public amenity in terms of noise, odour, or operating hours. It is also noted that Premier stores open until 10 p.m. and thus the sighting of the trailer is unlikely to cause any significant further impact than is already caused by the store being open. As part of the application process, the Powys County Council Environmental Protection Officer was also consulted but raised no objections to the development. Overall, it's considered that given the trailer has been in operation previously prior to this particular application, it's considered that the continued operation of the trailer will not have any further significant harm on neighbouring amenity or that of the local area. Further, whilst public comments received make the point that there are sufficient takeaway facilities already in the area, it's considered that the trailer would not cause unacceptable adverse impact on the viability or the vitality of these existing services, and if anything, would provide more diverse food service options in the local area, as well as an opportunity for economic growth. As such, it's also considered that the trailer would accord with PPW, Planning Policy Wales. Further, while concerns have been raised regarding the trailer restricting access, there's past this, you go past there's a little gateway, like a doorway. This is not considered, however, to be a planning matter, but a civil matter. Okay. As such, with regards to public and neighbouring amenity, it's not considered that development will have any significant detrimental impact and will not cause us any harm. My last consideration has been made with regard to built heritage. I will take that. Oh, sorry, there was a slide there. Not sure. Apologies. Okay, so under considerations being made under two policies, both section 66 of the Planning Act, which requires local planning authorities to have special regard to the desirability of preserving listed buildings, as well as policy SP7 of the local development plan, which similarly requires that to safeguard strategic resources and assets in the county, development proposals must not have an unacceptable adverse impact on the resource or asset and its operation. In this case, we'll be looking at the grade 2 listed building called the Newark Arms Hotel, which can be seen here. While the Llanwrtyd War Memorial, which is over here, is within 50 meters of the site, because it's separated by, because the site is separated from the War Memorial by the premier stores, it's not considered that the development would have any impact. With regards to the proposal, the Built Heritage Officer has noted that overall, while the trailer would not be a usual feature of the townscape or within the setting of this building, shielded as it is by the fence, can be seen here, the view of the van is not obvious and would not have any significant harm to the setting or the listed building itself. Further, while some level of concern has been raised, it is not considered that the retention of the trailer in its position would further harm the nearby listed building overall, especially given that it's set back as it is. With the condition for signage to be controlled to have a neutral colour scheme, it is overall considered that the proposal is managed to an acceptable level and would not have any significant detrimental harm on the setting of the listed building overall. Further, I would like to make note of comments previously made with regards to the trunk road. Yes, the highway, both the Powys County Council, local highway authority and the Welsh Government trunk roads were consulted, but both raised no objections to this proposal. With regards to the natural environment, it's considered that because there's no loss of any buildings and it's not building any permanent unit, it will also it's also not considered to cause any significant natural environment detrimental impact. Further, it's also been conditioned for one bat/bird box to be sited near the site development within 6 weeks of the date of permission given. This is considered also to provide environmental enhancement and counteract any harm caused. Overall, my recommendation is one of conditional approval, and as you can see in your pack, I have put 5 conditions, and this would be for temporary consent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Over to members for discussion. First indicated they'd like to speak on this application is Gareth E. Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just request a piece of clarification? It's coming from the what Colin said on behalf of the agent. Can I confirm that I picked up, you said it was that they've had planning since December 2012, or was it 2018?
He says the catering trailer has been on site since December 2012.
Okay.
I think the planning application is got 18 in front of it, so I believe that's a 2018 application. But
yes, so the application, the last application, which was given temporary approval, that was begun in 2018.
And
that was given permission.
Was there a previous application in place before that, or they operated?
Yes, so there was one before that as well.
So it's been operating for 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The date of that approval in 2018, was that for a period of 3 years?
Yes.
So they're running at the moment, as it says, without approval at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we approved the proposal as you recommend, would that 3-year temporary approval start from today or from the date in 2021?
From the date that it's granted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gareth. Councillor Ian McIntosh, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have three questions really. The first one is over highways and going off what Councillor Tim Van Rees said, where he said that there's potential for an accident to be waiting to happen. Now, within the documents under the highway section, it says that under LDP DM13, the safe access, parking and visibility displays are a fundamental requirement of any development. The application does not seek alterations to the existing means of access to the site and does not propose any additional parking or creation of new parking. Local Highway Authority and Welsh Government Transport were consulted and have no objections on the proposal. And in light of the above, it's considered that the proposed development fully complies with the relevant planning policy. So the question is really, is that based on what Councillor Tim Van Rees said, are we 100% happy that there isn't the potential for an accident to happen? I mean, the picture that we're looking at there now, for instance, is a van parked partially on the highway, and if somebody pulls past and sees a fish and chip sign and suddenly pulls up, are we likely to get an accident? That's the first question. Do you want me to do them all in one or do them in another?
If you've got three,
Yeah.
so we'll take one at a time.
Okay.
You want to go to Highways Officer for that? Councillor Simon Crew from Highways, please.
Because it's not a road, it's a trunk road. So the local highway authority have no jurisdiction over it whatsoever. So the question would need to be put to Welsh Government, who obviously aren't in the room.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we can't expand on that.
Okay, over to you, Francis. Would you like to expand on that at all?
Sorry.
Gemma.
Yeah, I'll just come in quickly. So we have obviously got no objection from the Welsh Government Trank Road. I think for developments like this, we need to consider the location of the development. As Francis has said, we are very much in the centre of the town of Llynotted Wells, where there are other parking availabilities very close to this site. I don't know the street myself, but I suppose the street behind this building, should we say, does have unlimited parking. And if you just notice from this photo on the screen now before us, there isn't actually double yellowed lines on this road. So parking across this frontage is allowed, and that is something that I suppose is outside of our control really. But all I can say is that we have obviously done that consultation. Welsh Government Trunk Road have come back and they have confirmed they've got no objection. So on that basis, we don't see that there would be any further harm.
Okay, Councillor Ian.
Yeah.
From that point, or do you want to move on to your next question?
No, that's fine. I'm happy with the response. And as has been pointed out, I suppose there aren't double yellow lines there. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Okay, the second question then was touching on what Gareth said just now. Was it Gareth? I can't remember who it was spoke before me. Obviously the application now has got a condition where they can only have it for 3 years, and I've understand they've previously had it for 3 years. So first question is where did 3 years come from? You know, why not 2 or 10 or whatever? I'd like to understand where the 3 came from, but then also I understand the 3 has been put there so that it can be classed as a temporary application, but this is the second bite of the cherry, a 3-year application, and in 3 years' time, if they can then come in and have another 3-year application, then it effectively becomes a permanent application. So need some clarity on that, really.
Okay, Francis or Gemma?
Hi, thank you. The 3 years time was a carrying on from the last one. The last application had 3 years. It's considered that 3 years is a acceptable level of time. If they did wish to build something permanent, that is considered acceptable amount of time for them to be temporary. It's also considered that doesn't set a precedent. The new 36 months. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ian, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, I think the point is that if they can continue getting 3-year approvals, then it does become permanent. So it just doesn't rest well with me, really. Okay, the last one then is I think when the agent's comments were read out, he said that there's a flat next door. I think we can probably see it there with the 2 brown windows, number 2, I think, and they've got access from the front of the property to get up to their flat. But I was just wondering whether they also have a right of way, because I think there was a query raised about rights of way to the back of that property. For instance, does the people in that flat, or do the people in that flat have a parking facility, for instance, behind that van, which they currently can't get because the van's there? So I'm really just trying to determine whether there is a rights of way access to the back of that property that is, you know, restricted because of this.
Okay, Francis.
Hi, it's a very small alleyway that I don't believe you would be able to sufficiently get a car down there. The only thing at the back is just a little fence, like a garden fence to get through. So I don't consider it would have a significant impact. I consider this a civil matter, not a planning matter in terms of the right of way. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, please go.
Yeah, just to quickly confirm that private interests aren't material planning considerations. So if there is a right of way at the back, then it's between the operator or the applicant and whoever benefits from the right of way to sort that out in a civil context. It's not a material planning consideration.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out really, is whether going forwards, if we receive a future application that, whether it's a bungalow or whatever, if it goes over a right of way, then that's not a consideration for us. Yep.
Do you want to come in, Peter? Or...
Yeah, just wanted to come in, just really confirming it is preparation trailer what we're dealing with here. So members of the public aren't going to, if they want fish and chips, they've actually got to go into the shop, haven't they? So in effect, what we've got is an extension of the shop. It's giving it additional space to work from. That's what it's doing.
Right.
So the shop is functioning as a shop already.
Mm-hmm.
People can go in there, as we've heard, to 10 o'clock at night. So what we're dealing with is just additional outside space for the functioning of the business, really. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Just one point of view from my end. The alleyway going down to flat 2, is that wide enough for disabled access or not?
I'll just get Francis to bring up the block plan, which might help.
There was a photograph on the back end of the trailer looking down the side of the wall.
Yeah, go back one more, sorry. If I just start initially with this plan, so I just want to clarify on this, that obviously in red is the application trailer, but the blue does show the land owned by the applicant. So it does show that he owns quite a bit land. I think it goes back to the point that Colin's just made, really, that I think there might be a right of access to the back of those properties outside the ownership of the applicant. But unfortunately, that is not something that we can comment on or consider. It is a civil matter if it is considered to be blocked, but that wouldn't be something for us here to decide. And as we've heard, this trailer has been on site since approximately 2012 was, I think. So I imagine if there was any civil challenge on that, it probably would have occurred probably previous to this. But it's just to clarify really from this is the land owned by the applicant. So you can see that he does own quite a bit of the land around there, and it would be a civil matter in terms of access to this property to the rear.
It's just that if that was a small cabin and we were talking fixed, we'd be going to building regs. And if that wasn't wide enough, you wouldn't pass building regs.
But again, that's separate legislation. So unfortunately, it's not a consideration for us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Elwyn Vaughan, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Can I just want to draw attention to condition number 4, basically. It says, within 3 weeks from the date of the permission, a scheme to amend the signing and trailer shall be submitted to and shall be approved in writing to the local planning authority. Can we just make sure that signage is actually bilingual, as should be the norm with all such developments, please? And I fear that we are missing the trick as an authority very often in this. Because I do fear, I'll be honest with you, that we give more attention to bats very often and take them into consideration more than we do Welsh speakers in this county. If I can have an assurance on that, then I will be happy to move it, but I need that insurance first.
We're having a bit of difficulty with volume in the room. Is there anything that can be done about that? Because I think people were struggling to hear Councillor Elwyn then.
It's not coming through my ear, but it's not.
All right, it's coming through mine.
There are
Or
two
plug it-
selections on that menu. One
Plug it
is
into your laptop.
translation and the other one is English.
It should, sorry, it should come out through these speakers here.
Mm. Could you repeat that again? No, sorry, Councillor.
Yes, that's fine. I'll speak up just in case that helps. I was just referring to condition number 4, basically in the document, basically referring to within 3 weeks from date of the permission, a scheme to mend the signage and trailer shall be submitted and duly approved by the planning authority. I'm just making the point that such signage should be bilingual and conditioned to that effect. And I think we're missing the trick with all such new developments. It should be the norm, basically. And I was just making the point, basically, that the next point, number 5, talks about bat boxes. And I sometimes think that bats get more attention and support by this authority than Welsh speakers do. Can I have that assurance, please?
Okay.
Do you want me to go back? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just double checking the policy for the councillor, which I need a second to find it.
Well, whatever the policy is, it should be the norm anyway, because there is a standards policy by the Welsh Language Commissioner on this authority, and the authority has that power to any contractors or anybody we duly influence to enforce that.
I haven't quite got there. I think we've our policy that's in the existing LDP is around. Sorry, if you, yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm just being having messages whispered to me. Apologies. Yeah, policy DM12 of the LDP is very much around. Well, it's about Welsh-speaking strongholds, and it relates to development proposals for 10 or more dwellings on windfall sites. So it's very specific about what it relates to. I suspect we're in a situation, just going to scroll down and read the text as well, just be whispered to. I suspect all we can do is try and negotiate and encourage that the signage is bilingual. I'm not sure that we can require it because I don't think we've got the policy support to require it.
Do you think you've got that support?
Sorry.
I don't know, Chairman.
Yeah.
I need to.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can find it in the right bit. Do you know, Kate, offhand, which paragraph it was?
All administrators place names of signage in the Welsh speaking
Yeah,
strongholds.
so we've got it. It's clear in the policy, in the reason justification. It's, if you wanted to check, it's paragraph 4.2.70. And I'll read it out. It says all advertisements, place name, signage within Welsh speaking strongholds, which this is not, or I don't believe it is, are expected to be bilingual in order to protect local linguistic character, tradition, and promote cultural distinctiveness. So I just need to double check it's not in the stronghold.
I think it is, because the classification in the LDP is 25% of speakers at last census, and I think you will find that Llanwrtyd was over 25% in last census.
Yeah, let's see if I can find it quickly.
A member in the chamber agreeing.
And even if it wasn't, it should be. It should be the norm throughout Powys, I would argue, because there's no expense in doing it at new.
I agree, Councillor Owen Vaughan.
I'm struggling to find quickly.
It's okay.
You're in here somewhere, but where?
I'm sorry. I can't get the hands up here, but I must agree with Councillor Vaughan. At the end of the day, Llanwrtyd Wells is in the heart of Wales, and so therefore it is in a Welsh stronghold. Yeah. And there is surmountable people in Llanwrtyd who are fluent in Welsh.
I don't disagree with that, but we have these strongholds defined in policy, so we have to make sure we comply with policy. Yeah.
Could we put something in there to recommend or urge them to go down that route?
We could certainly put a notification in. I'm struggling to find them quickly, which is very poor of me.
Do you want to adjourn for 2 minutes? Is that something?
It's not. I don't believe it is. No. Yeah. So I don't think we've got the policy support that you're seeking as members there, and I completely understand that. I would like it probably to be there as well, but it's not there at the moment. So I think we're in a position where all we could do is probably put an informative notice to try and encourage. Yeah.
Are you in agreement with that, Councillor Elwyn Vaughan?
Well, whatever the strongest wording potentially is there, because I think we're only talking about a couple of words. I've translated them myself if need be. But I think it should be good practice with all such developments wherever they are in Powys.
Absolutely.
Come back. I think it's one of these issues. Councillor Elwyn Vaughan knows this already, and other members do. Replacement local development plan process. We will have to take a look again at our Welsh language policies. I don't think they go far enough in what we're requiring and asking the planning system to achieve here. So we will be back there, but we have to work with the policy framework that we have in front of us at the moment.
Indeed. I think everyone's in agreement with that. Okay, brilliant. If we could put that notification on there, if members are minded to go with officer's recommendation. Councillor Ian McIntosh, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on the same thing, really. I was wondering, are we able to put it forward as a condition that it's, got bilingual?
And because it's not in the policy.
Yeah.
This area. So all we can do is, as Councillor Elwyn Vaughan has suggested, the strongest possible action, which would be a notification.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, members, I need your help here in determining this application. I haven't got a proposal to go either way at this point. Councillor Hugh Williams, please.
Yeah, I can't see any reason to go against the officer's recommendation. So if it's needed, I will recommend that we do go along. And by the way, can I congratulate them for the presentation?
Yes, absolutely. I go along with that as well. Excellent. Okay, members. I'm in your hands. I've got a proposal to go along with officer's recommendation. Councillor Howland Hume, please.
Yeah, I'd like to second Councillor Hughes' proposal. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. There's no other members wishing to come in and contribute to this application, speak on this application. It has been proposed and duly seconded to go along with officer's recommendation, which is one of conditional consent with the added notification about Welsh language. Those members wishing to go along with that, please indicate when Steve comes to you for the roll call.
Councillor Tom Colbert.
For.
Councillor Angela Davis.
For.
Councillor Les George.
For.
Councillor Howland Hume.
For.
Councillor Adrian Jones.
For.
I believe the Vice Chair has left the meeting now. Councillor Gareth E. Jones.
For.
Councillor Karina Kenyon-Wade.
For.
Councillor Carl Lewis.
For.
Councillor Ian McIntosh.
I'm going to abstain, please.
Councillor Jeff Morgan. Councillor Gareth Pugh.
For.
Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Chair, could I go for a 3-year as unread support?
Pardon?
Could we give it?
It's already 3 years, so you can
Oh, I
only,
see. All right.
yeah, so you can only vote on what is being proposed. So
Oh, there we are. Okay.
are you for the application? Yeah.
Councillor Gwynfor Thomas.
For.
Councillor Elwyn Vaughan.
For.
Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson.
For.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
For.
There's 15 votes for and 1 abstention, Chair.
Thank you very much, Steve. That meets with officer's recommendation. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Francis. Well done. On to our next application. which is 22/0510/FUL, barn conversion to residential holiday unit and associated works, and that Nantyhirwan, Malfrey, Oswestry. Taking us through this application is Keris Denham. And Keris, this is your first time also in the chamber, so welcome to you as well.
Lovely, thank you, Chair. I'll just,
Just for clarification, Councillor Elwyn Vaughan has declared an interest and he is leaving the meeting.
Sorry, thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. So the sorry about this.
Yeah, that's okay.
So good afternoon. The application is 22/0510 FUL, is for barn conversion to a residential holiday unit and associated works at Nantyhirwan, Moelfra. The first slide is just an overview Google Earth of the site. You can see it's located in the community of Clansillan, and it's approximately 1 kilometre from Moelfra and in an area designated as open countryside under the Powys Local Development Plan. I think as you can see from the slide, the application site is located in a rural area and is away from any neighbouring properties. The location plan shows the application site at Nantyhirwan. It's an agricultural building which is sited approximately 135 metres north of the main farmstead, which is also in control of the applicant. It is proposed to convert the second floor of the existing farm building to a 2-bedroom self-catering holiday unit with amenity area to the rear and parking area to the side of the barn. As you can see, the access utilises the existing farm track. If we look at the block plan of the closest scale, we can see that the proposed septic tank and soakaway is located to the west of the barn. It's away from any mature trees. The access and car parking area will not require any additional groundworks, and there's no proposed changes to any ground levels. I think going on to the proposed plan of the development, you can see the building comprises a steel portal frame building with timber cladding to the walls and under a metal clad roof. It is on various levels. There are no proposed alterations to the external appearance of the building, which will utilise all the existing coverings. The windows and doors will be utilise existing openings where as possible. The design does incorporate the closing up of only one existing opening on the southwest elevation of the building. I think this is just another proposal which shows a plan which shows that the actually the post holiday let unit will be above the agricultural fodder store and livestock yard. These uses are proposed to continue after the unit has been converted. But I think given as the proposed barn is limited to holiday let use, that is considered acceptable. Just having a look at the access to the site, the proposed development seeks to gain access from the C2208 County Highway. That's the view approaching the site from the north, and again approaching the site from the south. From the farm track, the highway gives up the existing farm track, which will go to the parking area. There is an improved access to the county highway seen from the slides. The local highway authority has been consulted and noted that subject to the inclusion of the recommended conditions, they do not raise an objection to the development. It's considered that the recommended conditions which are noted in the report are necessary and commensurate to the scale of development. And the conditions would also see the provision of additional passing bay on the county highway, which will benefit all users of the highway. I think just going on to the next few slides, which show the existing building. That's from the north, again, from north, and that's the rear of the building. You can see the exterior of the building won't be altered to any degree by the changes. There's going to be no proposed change in ground level. the slide, you see from the slide, the building is located in a very rural area with no neighbouring properties, and it does actually assimilate quite well into the landscape. So I think to conclude, the key issues for the application are that the application is for a tourism development, which is supported under policy TD1 of the local development plan. The proposal reuses an existing building and is capable of conversion without any significant alteration. There's an adequate and safe access to the proposal as it reuses, and the proposal reuses the existing building. It's considered there won't be any adverse impact on the landscape. I think all of the other issues have been considered within the committee report, and then to conclude, the recommendation is one to approve subject to conditions as set out in the report in front of you. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Sorry, thank you, Gareth. Over to members for discussion, please. Councillor Howard Hume, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to pick up on I just wanted to pick up on page 97 and the land drainage officer has mentioned SAB, and has this been received, or should it not run parallel with the actual planning application, or is it going to be a retrospect, kind of retrospective to this going forward? What is the process for a SAB application?
Well, I think that the SAB application is under separate policy to the planning policy. It has been put as an advisory note on the report, in which we fed through to the applicant.
Okay. I do struggle with this though, because I just feel that it should run parallel with the planning application, because he's got to have a SAB in order to do it.
Yes.
And yeah, I'll leave it at that, but I just feel that they should run parallel. Okay, thank you.
Chair, it's really valid, an important point that, so if others are listening out there and watching us, yeah, you're correct. The processes should be intertwined. They should align. There will be difficulties where they don't align. So when developers are planning development, it really is thinking about both together, but they are separate regulations. So there's no requirement that they are submitted simultaneously, but it makes an awful lot of sense to work together and think about them up front from the start. Otherwise they won't align, and then one or other will have to be adjusted. More likely the planning one will have to be adjusted. My understanding with SAB is if you need to make amendments, you can't, you have to reapply at the moment. So that's the system that we have.
Okay, thank you. Members, I'm in your hands. Councillor Gareth Pugh, please. Councillor Gareth Pugh, you're on mute, I believe.
Sorry, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Right, first of all, I'd like to thank Karis for her report, but it looks pretty straightforward to me. So when you're ready, Chair, I'm prepared to move this application in line with the officer's recommendation, that of conditional consent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gareth. I'll bring in Colin just for some clarification on his end.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you, Chair. As it's a member application, the protocol requires me to look at the planning file and confirm to you that it has been processed normally. And I've looked at the planning file and I can confirm that it's been processed normally. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Colin. Councillor Les George, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second Councillor Garrett's proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Les. Checking that there's no other members wishing to come in. If you could drop your hand, please, Councillor Les. Thank you. Oh, you're back on. Do you want to come back in? No? Okay. Okay, members, it has been proposed and duly seconded to go along with officer's recommendation, which is one of conditional consent. Members wishing to go along with that, please indicate to Steve, who will be doing the roll call momentarily.
Councillor Tom Colbert.
For.
Councillor Angela Davis. Councillor Les George. Councillor Howland Hume. Councillor Adrian Jones. 4. Councillor Gareth E. Jones. 4. Councillor Karina Kenyon Wade. 4. Councillor Carl Lewis. 4. Councillor Ian McIntosh.
4.
Councillor Jeff Morgan. 4. Councillor Gareth Pugh.
4.
Councillor Edwin Roderick. 4. Councillor Gwynfor Thomas. Councillor Gwynfor.
Councillor Gwynfor. Councillor Gwynfor, you might be on mute. Come back in.
Apologies, I'm trying to, there was difficulty unmuting there. I do apologize.
Okay. Are you for? Or...
Yes, I said 4. Obviously, you didn't hear me.
Thank you.
Councillor Jonathan Wilkinson.
4.
And Councillor Hugh Williams. 4. That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. That meets the officer's recommendation. And just thank Karis as well. Excellent. Very well done. Okay, on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the delegated list. Is there any observations on there, or are members happy to approve that? Could I have a proposer and a seconder for that, please, if you are? Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Howland Hume, and seconded by Councillor Edwin Roderick. I'll just wait momentarily just in case there's any observations there. No, great. Okay, on to the appeals decision. Happy to accept that. Or is any questions you have on that? If not, could I just take it as read? Great, take it as read. On to the final item on the agenda, which is the minutes from the subcommittee licensing hearing, which is on the 4th of May 2022. Unfortunately, I'm the only one left from that committee meeting, so I can say that they are an accurate record of what transpired. Thank you. That concludes the meeting for today, members. I'd just like to thank everyone that's presented today and had input from Highways as well, and members in the chamber and members at home, and members of the press that will be watching the recording later. So I close this meeting. Thank you.